What if I told you that the key to find your very first self-storage facility wasn't in what you had to do or how you had to do it, but it was about who you needed to find in order to help you do it? Who did you need to collaborate with? Who can help you find and buy your very first self-storage facility? My name is Alex Pardo. I am a self-storage investor, owner, and operator. I also lead the Storage Wins coaching community, teaching people how to buy their very first storage facility within 6 months, regardless of if they have capital, experience, or anything that people feel holds them back from getting involved in self-storage. And in this video and in this particular podcast, I want to talk to you guys about your mindset and how you can land your very first self-storage facility, regardless of, I don't care if you don't have time, if you don't have money, whatever you feel may be holding you back, there is a solution around it. So let me just first zoom out, and I'm actually going to share with you a couple of stories from people that I have personally worked with, Storage Wins community members and coaching clients who have adopted this mindset and followed this same strategy to get their very first self-storage deal. My core belief is that we can make 1 + 1 = 11. 1 + 1 does not have to equal 2. I know that's what we've been taught. I know that's what everybody believes. And I know that's what the calculator tells you. But my belief is that with synergies, with collaboration, and with finding the right who, we can make 1 + 1 = 11. So what do I mean by that? Well, one of the reasons I love self-storage is that I don't care if it's a smaller facility or a larger facility. The pie can be big enough where you can bring your assets, resources, strengths, unique abilities, and talents to the table in order to carve out a piece of that deal. And it could be a big piece, it could be a small piece, or something in between. But one of the exercises that I always like to take coaching clients through is getting crystal clear on the assets and resources that they have available to them. Now, I think it's important that I define what I mean by assets, because when I use that word, oftentimes people default to, well, I have to have a certain amount of money, or I have to own real estate, or I have to have stocks or crypto or gold or whatever we have come to know and believe as assets, whether it's paper assets or actual physical, tangible assets like real estate. That's not necessarily what I mean. Yes, those are assets, and those could be things that you can lean on and leverage. But when I'm talking about assets, I'm talking about time. I'm talking about your resources. I'm talking about your network. I'm talking, in some cases, intangible assets like your drive, your commitment to want to grow and succeed, the mentality that I am not going to quit. I am going to persist, and I'm going to overcome, and I'm going to persevere. To me, those are all things that I have people write down under the assets column and under the resources column. So I want you to just make a list of all of the things that you feel can work for you or are working for you. Okay, and these can be things like maybe you have a couple of hours a day. Maybe you have an hour a day, whatever it is. What do you have in terms of time to commit to this business? Do you have some financial resources? If you do, great, write that down. If you don't, who do you know that has financial resources? And I don't care who you are, what part of the country you live in, or what your situation is. If you are watching me, if you are listening to me, you know people with financial resources. You might not think or know that they have those financial resources, but believe me, you do. I've always shared with people that all of the money you need for your storage deals is in this device right here, right? Your mobile phone. It's in your contacts list. The difference is that you either know how to plant those seeds and have those, what I call capital connection conversations, or you don't. Now, having a gap when it comes to knowledge is perfectly fine. I can easily help you with that. But it's your mindset and your belief that says, hey, the money is out there. I just need to find it, or better yet, it needs to find me. And so what I first want you to know, big picture, is that everything you need in order to buy a self-storage facility, you have. Okay, I'm going to say that again because that might be a tough pill to swallow if you're watching this. Everything you need is at your fingertips in order to buy a storage facility. Now, you might have a knowledge gap. You may have a lack of financial resources. You may have a lack of time. Regardless of your situation, I want you to take stock and inventory of all the things that you do have working for you. You see, sometimes I find, in fact, oftentimes I find that we human beings tend to focus on the lack versus the gain. And I think it's a perfect time to introduce to you two books written by my favorite author. Dr. Benjamin Hardy and Dan Sullivan have co-authored a couple of books. One of them is The Gap in the Gain. And The Gap in the Gain is exactly that. It's people focus on the gap instead of focusing on the gain. How does this relate to the topic of this particular video? Well, are you the one focused on what you don't have, i.e., knowledge, financial resources? I don't know how to find the deal. I don't know how to underwrite a deal. I don't know how to close a deal. Are you focused on the lack, the gap, AKA, or are you focused on the gains? Hey, here are all the things I do have working for me. That is the short, quick call to action for you right now. Is after this video, after this podcast, is take stock and inventory of the things you do have working for you. Why is that so important? Well, we just had our Storage Wins community coaching call. And this is something we do on a weekly basis where we do deal reviews, case studies, Q&A, we mastermind together. I mean, these are fun, collaborative calls. They're not passive calls where people are sitting back listening to me talk about self-storage for 90 minutes. That's not what these are. And one of our members, we always start our community calls with wins. One of our members shared how they are under contract. And when she said they, she was referring to another Storage Wins member. Now, how did that happen? How did two people that didn't know each other, who were part of the same community, come to partner on now numerous deals that they've gone under contract on, and they're knocking on the deal. They're knocking on the door, I should say, of closing a deal together. Well, it's because part of our culture, part of my core belief is you have to find the right who, not necessarily ask the question how. Okay. And this is a perfect opportunity to introduce the second book by Dr. Benjamin Hardy and Dan Sullivan. In fact, I thought it was behind me, but it's somewhere back there, and that's Who, Not How. So two books I want to encourage you to read, The Gap in the Gain and Who, Not How. And Who, Not How is all about, instead of asking how do I get involved in self-storage or how do I buy my first deal, maybe that's the wrong question to ask. Maybe the right question to ask is, who can help me find and buy my very first storage facility? And that can be a coach like myself. That can be joining a community in terms of like the who and finding the right people. And by the way, I would highly encourage you to consider that if you're trying to do this alone, because we're not meant to do life and business alone. Anybody who has succeeded, they're going to show me two things. They're going to show me battle scars because they've lost a lot more than they've typically won. And they're going to show me a team. They're going to show me a group of people who they have identified as their who to help them. So that is the second book I want you to read. And my coaching clients read this book. And because of the community of like-minded individuals that they're in, and because of the culture we have of connection, collaboration, building meaningful relationships with each other, they identified strengths and assets and resources that each of them brought to the table that the other one was missing, lacking, or just didn't necessarily want to tap into. And I have seen this come up over and over and over again in the Storage Wins community. In fact, I just finished recording a podcast with one of our members that he was sharing with me a few frustrations he had. And he was sharing with me, hey, I've been making offers. I've been putting in the time and effort. I've gotten a few deals under contract, but it just hasn't come to fruition, right? The oven hasn't dinged, right? The food's not ready yet. And he was in a certain state. And so I was helping him from a mindset perspective get out of that mental state. And one of the things I shared with him, I said, hey, you've had so much success with the virtual assistant that you have hired, who's now cold calling for you and teeing up opportunities of storage owners who are raising their hand saying, hey, I want to sell. And that has helped you buy back your time. Now you are focused on following up and having conversations with storage owners who actually want to sell. I said, what are the things that you feel? I said, first, what are the gains? What are all the things you have working for you? And so he made a long list. We spoke about that. And I said, okay, well, what do you feel you're missing right now? Where are some of the gaps? And he shared with me a couple of things. I said, well, do you know this person? And I mentioned his name, and it's another person in our Storage Wins community that joined our community not that long ago. And fortunately or unfortunately, right? Depending on how you look at it, he's got a very, very successful single family real estate business to the tune of 6 figures a month in revenue that they generate. And he recently hired a key person in a leadership position for his company. So shortly after he joined, he had to redirect his energy and attention towards his real estate business because he was hiring this big position, 6-figure position. But this is somebody who's got resources, but doesn't have time. And my coaching client has time, but is lacking certain resources. Or I shouldn't say lacking. He doesn't currently have them in his possession, but he's got an abundant amount of resources at his disposal. And that's something that he has come to learn and believe that he didn't have when we first started working together. And so via text message, I just made a connection. And now they're going to be having a conversation about collaborating because each of them has what the other doesn't. One doesn't have time, but has a lot of knowledge, understands how to market, understands systems, understands how to hire, has a lot of CEO experience, has financial resources, and wants to get involved in storage, but just hasn't been able to make the time for it. The other person has a strong understanding of the storage business, understands our process and system, understands how to underwrite deals, how to also find deals, how to have meaningful conversations, but needs a capital partner or needs a lender to get involved for his first deal. And he has the time. And so that sounds like a perfect way to make 1 + 1 = 11. And I'm a big advocate of partnering on deals, not partnering in business, right? In other words, date before you ever consider getting married. And so I like joint ventures because you can work with somebody on a deal by deal basis and really get to know that person. So I'm not here advocating, hey, go find an actual business partner that you do 100% of your deals with. But more than anything, the seed I want to plant with you is your who is out there. So first, I just want to make that known. I want you to adopt the belief that your who is out there. Anything you feel you're missing or lacking right now, somebody can help you with. So if you are asking, how can I do this? That might not be the best question to ask. I think the question I'd prefer that you ask is, who do I need to connect with in order to insert pain point, frustration, gap, whatever you might be missing or lacking? Because you need to believe that you have a unique ability. And if you don't know what that is, it's your job to quickly figure that out. And there's an exercise by Dan Sullivan. Shout out to him for a third time on this particular video and podcast. But Dan Sullivan has something called the Genius Zone. And if you don't know what it is, just Google or ChatGPT Dan Sullivan Genius Zone. And it's an exercise that I've gone through many times throughout the last couple of decades, where you reach out to 10 to 20 people that know you. And you basically, it's an email template, and you just ask them, say, hey, I'm doing some personal development work on myself. And I'm curious, from your perspective, what are the things that you feel come naturally to me? In other words, what do you think are my particular God-given gifts and talents? What are the things that you think you see me and you maybe think, hey, that comes effortless to that person, or you're really good at that? And when you collect and gather this information from 10 to 20 people who know you, and ideally it's a mix of colleagues, coworkers, family, friends, people that have worked with you in different areas of life, it's going to be very revealing to you, and it's going to be eye-popping. And I've done this multiple times. In fact, one of the things that I came to learn was a gift and a skill set of mine was the fact that people see me as a strong communicator and somebody who is a natural connector. And I didn't realize that about myself. I didn't realize that I naturally like to connect people, make introductions, add value by introducing people to others. And so that's just a personal testimony of that exercise and what it's done for me. But to put a bow on this particular one is, I think it's really important, number one, you get clear on your talents, your skill sets, your unique abilities, the things that come naturally and effortlessly to you. Number two, I want you to take stock and inventory of all the things that are working for you right now. Don't focus on the gap. Don't focus on the lack or the things that you feel you need or don't have. That will come in time. For right now, I want you to keep the focus and the energy on the things that you do have that are working for you. I don't know what that is. That could be time. That could be money. That could be your network. That could be a particular skill set. That could be your knowledge around something. That could be just you have a desire to succeed and you don't care how many times you get knocked down, but you're going to keep getting back up. Create a list of all the tangible and intangible assets and resources that you have. And then I want you to start having conversations with people. I want you to put this out there and watch what happens. It's my belief that God's going to open certain doors for you. He's going to close the wrong ones that you're not meant to walk through. And that when you start asking the right question, you start asking who, not necessarily just how or even why or what, that it's going to be interesting. I think you're going to find the doors that start opening, the conversations that now you're realizing, the people that you start meeting, the people that start reaching out to you. But put yourself out there. And I think you just need to believe that you are one who away or one relationship away from having everything you want and desire. And that could be your very first storage deal. That could be a certain amount of cash flow, whatever breakthrough you're seeking, you are a who away from it. So that's my invitation to you. I hope that this encourages you, inspires you to start asking a little bit of a different question, because regardless of what you feel your gap is, in other words, regardless of what you feel is holding you back from finding and closing on your very first storage facility, it's my core belief you're probably a who away. And maybe it's because you just haven't surrounded yourself or immersed yourself in the right community, like Storage Wins, that has like-minded people that are there to support and encourage you and lift you up. And I always make connections inside of our Storage Wins community. Number one, because it's a gift of mine. Number two, because I enjoy it. I like to see good people collaborate and work together. And I've seen this come up countless times in our community because of the relationships that are organically built. So with that being said, look, if you like this video, I'm going to encourage you. There's probably going to be a place here where you can watch the next video. Dive into that one, because it's going to continue to open your mind to the questions you have to ask, the opportunities that exist in self-storage, and how you can continue to get involved in this business.